before going to Adrian, I just want to spend like 5 minutes again thanking the organizing committee of the conference. And there was a tremendous amount of work, especially the people like Guido and Bedur, who had to take additional responsibility when we decided to shift. And there was a lot of work behind the scenes. Obviously, there was a plan, there was a plan B, plan C. And I also want to thank both SIGSI and the EDC steering committee, because they gave us the flexibility that we needed. We were discussing things that after a day or two were becoming obsolete. When we were organizing the conference, we had to take decisions very fast, and it was really nice that we got the support we needed. And what I can say thanks, of course, to the people involved, definitely. I also want to thank SIGSI, ACM, Europe Council and Informatics Europe, that are the sponsors of the conference. I want to say thank to, obviously, NTNU, Excited, our faculty and our department, did a lot of work. Of course, both the support, but also they covered all the cancellation expenses. They covered all the expenses with regards to the setting up the Moodle platform, the technical part, because the configuration part and the management part is Guido and Bedur that did it. And of course, the Zoom webinar licenses and several other smaller things that were fully covered from NTNU and Excited. And we managed to keep the registration low, covering mainly the proceedings and the registration platform, so some relatively smaller expenses, and make it accessible to people. The videos will be available in the platform in a day or two. We need to render them and slice them, so there is some work, but they're going to be available. We will give an announcement. Feel free to use the hashtag ETC2020 if you want to post on social media. And there are some questions about our experience. So what I can say now is that we will collect some data and we will make a report available. And we're hoping, even trying, reaching out to Inroads, if we can publish something there, we make sure there is full transparency and people get to know how things develop. Of course, we will have an evaluation form probably coming out tomorrow. So please be honest and tell us, this is the first SIGSI that runs online, so we need to honestly know how things went and try to make things better, both for ICER, that is in some months, but I would say in general. I think now Adrian is, if you want to share your screen, perfect.
Okay. Yeah. Hi. I am Adrienne Decker, and I am the chair of the SIGSI board. And together with my fellow SIGSI board members who you see on the screen, I'd like to thank you for your support of the SIGSI community and especially of IDICI this year. As Mikhail mentioned, SIGSI is the third largest ACM SIG. IDICI is one part of what the SIG does. It's an important part, just like all of our pieces, but we have a lot of other programs and activities that go on throughout the year. So what we would encourage all of you to do is take a look at our website and see information about all of the different things that you can participate in and things that SIGSI as the organization provides its members. One of our most well-known activities are our conferences. We currently have plans for one more conference coming up this year, ICER. We were all supposed to be meeting in New Zealand, but as things go, ICER is going to be virtual this year. Registration for ICER has just opened. It will be taking place on the same dates as originally scheduled, August 11th through the 13th. And if you're interested, please go to icer.acm.org and please register and join us for that event. While it seems like a long time away, plans are well underway for our 2021 slate of conferences. Our technical symposium is currently scheduled to be held in Toronto, Canada in March the 17th through the 20th. IDICI is coming up once again a year from now in June of 21, but I'll let the IDICI 21 team talk about that in a few minutes. And our newest 6E conference, Comp Ed, which held its first conference in 2019 in China, will be holding its second conference in December of 21, and we will be visiting India for the first time for a 6E conference. As call for papers and calls for participation come out, please consider submitting to any and all of our conferences and joining us for these events. Again, more information is forthcoming for all of them, but if you go to the 6E website, you can see links to the upcoming conferences as well. One of the most special activities of 6E is the 6E Awards. In a few moments, I'm going to turn this over to Dan Garcia, our vice chair, and he's going to talk a lot about this year's awardees. But even before that, I want to reiterate, which he probably will as well, that we're looking for next year's awardees already. Our nominations are due October 1st, and while October seems like a long way away, it's going to be here before you know it. And so we're reaching out now to the community to consider who you believe could be outstanding candidates for these awards. So please consider nominating a member of our community or a publication. And for the awards that are coming up, information on how you nominate and what the requirements are for nominating are available at that URL, or it's right off of the 6E website. The other thing that's very important is 6E is built on volunteers. All of the board members, all of the people you see at conferences, all volunteer for the organization, and they really are the heart and soul of what this organization is about. We're always looking for new volunteers, new people to help us in all of our 6E endeavors, all of our projects, all of our events. So if you are a 6E member, please consider joining our 6E volunteers listserv. That is the place where the 6E leadership is coordinating, sending all information about volunteers that are needed. There have just been a recent slate of calls for volunteers for the IDICE Steering Committee and inaugural ICER Steering Committee, volunteers for a task force, and we just posted for volunteers for the symposium as well. All of these things are available in terms of leadership, but also just conference committee roles and various other things that are available for people who are interested. Call for participation will come out on that list. If you haven't seen any of those, or you're interested in reaching out and you don't know how to do that, please reach out to me. My email is there. Or if you have any other concerns or questions or any other issues that you would like to bring to the board's attention, please feel free to use that email so that we can get those things on an upcoming agenda, get them discussed, all of those things. The board is interested in hearing from the membership, so please make sure to engage us when and if you think it's appropriate. IDICE is unique among our conferences in that we host the conference together with our partners at ACM Europe and Informatics Europe. The relationship has made IDICE grow in ways that we couldn't have imagined. And we were so looking forward to celebrating the 25th IDICE, this IDICE, in Norway this year. Unfortunately, that wasn't meant to be. And as Mikhail said, within months of this conference supposing to go live, a lot of changes needed to be made. It's customary for the 6E chair to present the chairs of the conference with a small token of appreciation for all their hard work. I am heartbroken that I don't get to do that in person and get to say to them in person a great big thanks for all of their hard work. And this year more than ever, I wish I could do that for all of the work that Mikhail and Gudorm and the entire IDICE organizing committee put in to creating an unconventional IDICE, moving it online. It has just been amazing. It has been an incredibly successful 2020 conference, and I thank you all for everything that you've done this year. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Andrienne, for your kind words. If Dan Garcia, are you ready to move?
I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Hi, folks. I'm Dan Garcia. I'm not going to share slides. I just have my slides behind me. I'm the 6E Vice Chair, and each year, as Adrienne mentioned, 6E selects recipients for its awards. There are normally 2 candidate awards for people who have made significant contributions to computer science education. And there's a new one this year, the Test of Time Award, for a paper that has stood the test of time. Normally, the first 2 are presented at our annual symposium, but we didn't have a chance to do that this year, and I'm saddened that I didn't get to do that. But I'm quite appreciative of being allowed this virtual forum to be able to present them virtually. You see the 3 awards here listed, and Adrienne mentioned them as well. It's my great pleasure to present the SIGSI Award for Lifetime Service to the Computer Science Education Community to Professor Alison Clear of the Eastern Institute of Technology in New Zealand. The award reads, "For sustained commitment and dedication to computing educators, computing education, excellence in teaching and research, and innovative curriculum design nationally and internationally." Her letter writers speak of her 3 decades of curriculum development, creating the foundation for many new diplomas, baccalaureate and master's degrees, and doctorates both in New Zealand and internationally. They mention her leadership as chair of the New Zealand National Advisory Committee on Computing Qualifications for a decade, the generous gift of her time mentoring others, her volunteerism, 9 years on the SIGSI board, and I believe 3 as even my role, SIGSI vice chair, her chair position on many international conferences as the leading voice, and as well the leading voice to bring IDICI to Peru. Finally, they beam of her scholarly activity with over 100 papers over 2 decades on curriculum development, information and communications technologies for development, ICT4D, computing education and women in computing, and her support for indigenous peoples and their development. Please join me in congratulating Alison. It's also my pleasure to present the SIGSI Award for Outstanding Contribution to Computer Science Education to Professor Lauri Malmi of Aalto University in Finland. The award reads, "For leadership in building the international computing education research community and raising the profile and quality of computing education research and research mentorship." His letter writers speak of his supervision of more than 85 master's thesis projects, that his Learning Plus Technology, or LeTech research group, has published more than 300 journal and conference papers, and its members have completed 16 PhD theses. He alone has over 110 refereed publications, including 36 journal papers, 74 conference papers, and a textbook. His publications, according to Google Scholar, have 4,158 citations with an H index of 28.
4,000?
They mention his dedication of many years to advancing the computing education discipline, particularly his support and leadership with Coley Calling, ICER, and TOS. Many know him through his Inroads column and his leadership at IDICI working groups. Finally, they talk of his innovative TRACLA2, a visual algorithm simulation exercise system with automatic assessment. Please join me in congratulating Lauri. The SIGSI board recently created a new award, the SIGSI Test of Time Award. This award recognizes an outstanding paper published in the SIGSI community that has meaningful impact on computing education practice and research. Again, as Adrian mentioned, the application deadline for this award is October 1st of every year, so please consider nominating some of the papers that have influenced you. This is the first year of the award, and I'm delighted to present it to Professors Michael Kohling and John Rosenberg for their SIGSI 96 paper, an object-oriented program development environment for the first programming course, obviously describing their BlueJ programming environment. The letter writer speaks of the impact of BlueJ on shaping programming education as a, quote, important piece in the puzzle that enabled and popularized the objects-first approach to programming education around the world. It also provided an important research platform for our community, which is with its Black Box project, adding a detailed user interaction data collection facility of logging to BlueJ, providing a unique data set of educational user data spanning tens of millions of users and hundreds of millions of programming sessions. It has provided the basis for 18 separate published educational studies performed by 12 separate research groups. Please join me in congratulating Michael and John and all this year's SIGSI Award winners who truly reflect how wonderfully international SIGSI and its members are. Thank you.
Laurie, Michael, or John, if you want to talk, please.
Laurie, do you want to go first?
Oui. Okay. Thank you. I very well appreciate this. This was a very great honor for me for this award. So to be honest, I hadn't dreamed of having this award. And looking at those ones who received this award in the past, so with a very great names of computing history, Donald Knuth and so on. So goodness, really, I appreciate this very much. Thank you.
Oh, I also would like to say thank you. First of all, thank you to Dan for the nice introduction and presentation, and thank you for the 60 committee to decide to give us this award. I was just thinking when I listened to the keynote, it's just in time because it's about, of course, a programming system, and we just heard that programming is a clumsy way and is fading in significance. So I think it was just in time before we are fading out of significance. I would like to say I'm glad not only to receive this award, but also that it's a paper was written jointly with John, because John was not only my co-author on this paper, John was also my PhD supervisor. And I've always liked the German expression for that, Doktorvater, which means something like PhD father. And I think it's a very nice way to express this very important relationship, because John set me off on my career, and without him I wouldn't be where I am today. By some really beautiful coincidence, actually, this paper was published in 1996, which is this year of the very first ITICSI conference. So it is actually the same age as the ITICSI series. It wasn't published in ITICSI, it was published at the 60 Symposium. And for me, it was the second conference I've ever been to. It was in Philadelphia. The first one was the year before, also the 60 Symposium was my very first conference. So this was my second paper written in my second year of my PhD. And I would like just to put that down as both a call to arms and a maybe inspiration. The call to arms for those of you who are supervisors of PhD students is, this is what happens when you take your PhD students to conferences. So do that, do more of that. It is a good thing. That is what John enabled for me when he took me to the conference. And then, of course, as the message for PhD students, this is what happens when you publish papers at the end of the road. Well, hopefully not right at the end of the road, further down the road. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Dan, and thank you, SIGC. It was a little bit of a surprise for me. I have retired from full-time work in a university. I'm still very involved in education across the spectrum. But I also particularly wanted to acknowledge Michael, and he said kind things about me. This is going to sound a bit like a mutual admiration society, but Michael came to Australia from Germany, first of all on a scholarship, and then as a PhD student. He was without doubt the best PhD student I had in 38 years as an academic. His thesis won the award as the best computer science thesis that year in Australia. So I'm really pleased as well that this is a joint award with Michael of all of the people I've worked with over the years. The other people I just wanted to acknowledge very quickly was a person called Emil Sapa. Some of you may know him. He was for many years head of external research for Sun Microsystems. And very early on, in fact, after we published this paper, we talked to him and he said, I'm really interested in this. But originally it was around a language we'd developed called Blue. And he said, if you do this with Java, I'll find money for you. And I have to say, Sun supported us for many, many years with in excess of $1 million of funding. And I think the work on BlueJ wouldn't have been as successful as it was without the support of Sun. So I also wanted to acknowledge that. So thank you.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you very much. Also, I don't know if Alison is wants to say something, if he's in the participants with a different name, just raise your hand and I will permit you to talk, Alison. If not, we can move to the next. We can move to the Best Paper Award, where Judith.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. We'll talk about that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm pleased to hand out the Best Paper Award on behalf of the ACM Europe Council. I know that after I announce the names, you will probably, or everybody will probably leave the room. So I will first allow me to say a few words about the ACM Europe Council and its activities. The main goal of the ACM Europe Council is to increase the level of visibility of ACM activities across Europe. The Council is comprised of European computer scientists committed to fostering the visibility and relevance of ACM in Europe. It is focused on a wide range of European ACM activities, from high-quality ACM conferences in Europe, like our conference, to expanding ACM chapters, to encouraging greater participation of European in all dimensions of ACM. And there are also sub-goals like encourage nominees of ACM European members for the advanced member grades of senior member, distinguished member, fellow, and ACM awards, and more. The most important maybe is the ACM Europe Council, Informatics Europe, and CIPIS have launched the coalition Informatics for All. We heard about, there was a discussion about computing for all, CS for all, or how to call it. Well, in Europe, it's informatics and informatics for all. And the main purpose was to give due recognition to informatics, or computer science, as it's still called in some of the European countries, as an essential foundational discipline for education in the 21st century. You are invited to have a look at the Informatics for All website, where you can, it's easy to find, where you can find a variety of documents and resources, among other an open call to sign the Rome Declaration, an appeal to national and international institutions to promote informatics education in informatics education. We already have 2020 signatures. One of the activities of Informatics is for All is also to make informatics as one of the mandatory subjects in the PISA science framework. In the mathematics new PISA framework, already computational thinking or algorithmic thinking is included, but we hope that in the next science framework, computing or computer science or informatics will be included as a mandatory subject. And now, the award goes to Kirsten Morg, John Wilcox, and Zoe Wood on the paper Creative Choice in 5th grade computing curriculum. I'm told that they are not in the audience, unfortunately, but anyway, I will say a few words. It's an excellent subject, the paper, the talk, and it is in line with the efforts of exposing school pupils to computer science. Unfortunately, not only because they are not in the audience, but we couldn't do it with handshaking and hugs, so virtually. Usually, each of the winners receive a plaque and a €1,000 honorarium to be split between the winners. Moreover, the recipient's paper is provided online through the ACM Europe Council Awards page. This year, there is no plaque because the ACM officers are working from home. So the winners will receive congratulation letters and the money prize via wire transfer. I will try to make the connection. As, I hope I have the emails and I write to the ACM. I wish them success in whatever they choose, whatever path they choose to take. And bye to you.
Goodbye. Bye, Judith. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And then we go to Bedur.
Yes.
Who is going to tell us which is the poster in the TTNC that were voted the most from the participants.
More than happy to. So for EDIC 2020 this year, we decided to launch a Best TTNC and Best Poster competition. The submission abstracts were nominated based on the originality, quality, and obviously the contribution to existing knowledge. This year, we've had the pleasure of accepting 15 TTNC submissions in addition to 18 poster submissions. So without further ado, the Best TTNC award goes to Towards Flexible and Extensible Git-Based Course Management with RepoB by the authors Richard Glassy and Simon Larson. And for the best poster is Exploring Sense of Belonging in Computer Science Students by the authors Catherine Mooney, Anna Antoniadi, Eunice Carvilas, Lana Salmon, and Brett Beckers. Congratulations to all of the authors. The winners will be receiving an award certificate from ACM. Personally, I'm really gutted that I can't physically hand you folks the award, but I'm hoping that I'm going to see you at EDIC 2021. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and Bedur, and congratulations to both the winners and all the authors of posters and TTNCs. Now we move to the top 5 papers in 25 years. So Michelle Craig will tell us which are the winners in this final award category we have.
Great. So we have an award that recognizes the top 5 papers in the first 24 years of the IDIC conference. And we found this, the selection committee had a hard time with this and decided that we would go back and ask the SIGSI board if we could recognize the top 5 regular papers and then separately the top 5 working group reports, because we felt that they weren't really equivalent and so much great work from IDIC had happened in each category. And so they agreed to that, and there will be the top 5 in each category and then the top paper in each one. And unfortunately, again, we can't present the awards in person, so we'll do that next year, and I'm looking forward to that. But we will announce the winners now. So in the top, I will do the regular papers, and Mats will announce the working group ones. We started off by having finalists in the regular paper category, and these were announced on the SIGSI mailing list a number of months ago, and then we asked the community for feedback on these papers. And we had 7 finalists in the regular paper category. And then the selection committee met to discuss them along with the feedback that was submitted. And these are the top 5 winners for the regular papers. So I'll let you read them rather than me reading the titles. It was a really hard choice to narrow the 7 down to 5, because there's been, as Simon pointed out to us earlier, about 12,000 and something regular papers that have been submitted over the 24 years. Then the committee met to discuss, based on the feedback submitted, to narrow this down to the final 1 top paper. And the paper that was chosen, this paper made a mark on the field as a leading contribution at the time, linking the ideas behind self-efficacy theory and mental models to an area central to computing education: how students engage with learning to program. The paper makes a seminal contribution in terms of its analysis and combination of theoretical standpoints. Written in 2004 by Ramelingen, Lebel, and Weidenbeck, the winner is Self-Efficacy and Mental Models in Learning to Program. So congratulations to these authors. Now over to Mats, who will present the working group report winners.
Yeah, and this was the working groups. they are really great work, and it's was really tough to narrow it down to this list, because even with these 9, there are still many who would be seen as really, really great work. So anyway, we worked on this, and we had, as Michelle was saying, quite an intense discussion about what's good and how should we measure this and what's important. And so out of these 9, we finally came down to 5. If you change the slide. And I think this is maybe a sign also of that time in some sense matters. Many of these, the top 5 we selected, were pretty early, not the first years, but first 10 years of the century. Yeah, we had some long discussions and ended up with the following motivation. This working group report is seminal work regarding the profound shift towards activating and relying on students as resources in educational settings. The report provides the computing education community with a solid theoretical foundation for developing, studying, and understanding different aspects of the contributing student pedagogy concept. So, yeah, the winner is the 2008 working group report led by John Hamer, with members Quentin Cutts, Jana Yarkova, Andrew Laxton Riley, Robert McCartney, Helen Purchase, Charles Riedesel, Mara Saley, Kate Saunders, and Judy Sherd. I love this work. It's and again, read this and read the other ones. They are quite inspirational.
So as a last thing, we want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to everyone who submitted nominations for the awards, who submitted feedback about the papers, and also to fellow committee members. I do want to point out that Judy and Arnold did not participate in the discussions about the working group papers once we figured out that they had conflict of interests with the papers that had been nominated. But everybody else was part of the discussions, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michelle and Mats, and congratulations to both the winners and also the nominees. Now we go to Amber. Amber, you want me to share the slide or you want to share it?
Oh, I can share it.
Yeah, perfect. We
That's
go
fine.
to Amber. Amber is going to tell us about the steering committee, ETC steering committee. And please, I see some people have left. There is a surprise, there is a challenge coming up after Amber's talk, so maybe it works.
And I'm going to be very brief. So I'm just here to talk about the IDICE Steering Committee. Adrian already mentioned that this is a unique conference for SIGSI because it's actually a conference that's overseen by 3 different organizations. So we entered into an agreement with ACM Europe and Informatics Europe to oversee this conference. And so there's representation from all 3 organizations on the steering committee. So I just want to introduce the members. So Michael Cooling, who received the award, is the chair of the steering committee and he represents ACM Europe. Michael Casperson is the secretary and he represents Informatics Europe. I'm the SIGSI board liaison. Archie Korhonen is one of the SIGSI members. And then we actually have a swap of members going on right now. So Anna Eckerdahl has been one of our SIGSI representatives, and she's actually leaving at the end of this month. So I'd like to thank her very much for her service on the IDICE Steering Committee. It's been great to work with her, and we're very appreciative of that. And replacing her will be Guido Rössling, who you probably also know. He's going to be our new SIGSI representative starting at the end of this month. And so we're all looking forward to working with him. Please let any of us know if you have ideas for improving the conference. In 2021, there's going to be an opening for a new SIGC representative. So we're going to have one of our other, Archie is going to be stepping down. And so we're going to be having an opening for a new SIGC representative. So please look for the call for that. And there's currently an open call for the working group task force. We're trying to look at whether or not the logistics of working groups, whether or not those need to be modified. And so we really would like to get participation, obviously, from members of the community, because you have a strong stake in this. And so please make sure to look for that. Michael sent that out to the SIGC mailing list. And so if you haven't gotten that and you'd like to get that, just go ahead and let any of us know. So I just want to say thank you very much. And again, I'd like to echo what Adrian said. The IDISI 2020 committee did a huge amount of work in a very short amount of time to make this go online. And I think it's been a wonderful conference. And so I want to thank them very much for everything that they've done.